Hey everybody, Ronald Nair here for Affluence TV, and we're excited to give you a front row seat on the journey in luxury. With more than a decade within the luxury industry and the ability to represent Africa to Los Angeles, Paris and Dubai, we believe it's our responsibility to give you a behind-the-scenes shoots for all things luxury.
He cooked for the Queen of England, Sir Elton John, and various heads of state. Chef extraordinaire Cormack has been in the restaurant industry for more than 3 decades. But amongst all accolades, Craig embarks on a saltier journey.
Craig, welcome to Affluence TV.
Thanks so much.
Excited to have you over here. A lot of people say take things with a pinch of salt, but I think you've taken it a bit overboard, or have you taken it overboard? So we're here in the kitchen today, and do you want to begin to, while you're giving us a cooking demonstration, just what the salt journey has been for you though?
It's been 13 years now of experimenting with salt and just kind of building salt into experiences like a 4 or 5 course dinner paired with salt or with wines and or bubbly. And I think that's for me the best part about it is the educational process and to showcase people that there is actually that much out there. And when I say that, I mean there's just over 230-40 salt pans from around the world, meaning from mining to water to volcanic to you name it.
You know, spending a lot of time with you are connected of salt. How many salts do you have in your collection then?
Yeah, exciting part for me. It's just reached 191 salts from all over the world. And as I go along, I seem to find more and more. The best part is that people who travel, who come and eat in our restaurants will actually bring samples. So it speeds up my collection a lot. Beau joined myself and another chef, well-known chef in the area, 17 years ago. And he was our first trainee, first staff member in our new business, which had only been running for 6 months. And then after that, Beau spent about 2 years with us, kind of doing his apprenticeship, working his time into the industry. And from there, he then traveled to many, many countries. And one of them that were really special to him was the whole Thai component and Thai componentry of food, not realizing that it has so many salting techniques. So Beau came back after all his travels, decided to settle down, get married, the usual. And one day we were just chatting and we joined forces, and about a year or 2 in, he realized that there was this passion for salt, but in a totally different way. And for me, that's what excites me, is that our story is true, it's real, it's honest.
Michelin-trained chef Beau de Toit started his career as a trainee under the greats such as Chef Cormack, but soon thereafter found his unique style of cooking in one of London's most authentic Michelin-star Thai restaurants, Nair. It was this experience that connected Beau's love for salt with Craig's, which led to them experimenting and creating a completely unique experience.
Beau.
Ronald.
Awesome. Welcome to Affluence TV.
Oh, thanks for having us.
We just had an awesome time chatting to Craig.
Yeah.
And you know, he was telling us about your journey, that you started with him with your apprentice, and you've given him a lot of grey hair, and all he could eat is salt.
I haven't given him grey hair. He's lost a couple of grey hair because of us.
So you know, he's mentioned that you've spent some time with him, so you understand the culture, what they're about. You've traveled abroad and you found yourself back in South Africa. So what is the reason for you coming back to South Africa? Because you get many chefs from South Africa staying abroad and remaining outside. So you came back, your journey looks like what?
So I worked in London at a Michelin-starred Thai restaurant, which is probably the base of my cooking. The biggest thing I learned at Nair, I mean, we use it every single day. South Africans, we'd run through fermented food and salted food on a daily basis, but we don't know it. So everything's got a little bit of salt into it. And I think when I went over to Nair, it opened my eyes to how we eat preserved and fermented foods. And I tried a couple of things in South Africa, and then I went to Craig one day and I said, listen, what are you doing at the moment? We've got a little bit of history, so here's what I like, here's what I love, this is what I like doing. And he started talking about his salt journey and the classical stuff. So that's why I went to him and I had a little chat, and I just asked him, what are you doing? I see these salts, tell me a bit more. Very intrigued. Obviously with what I'm doing, it's a very similar line but completely opposite. And then luckily he had the same idea, and the two of us decided to start our salt journey and to rather complement each other in what we're doing. We're very close to signing international, and hopefully in the next 6 months we will open in Qatar, Even our cooking that we use, the methods that we use now, it's old methods. It's something that's cooked in salt. It's something that is brine. It's something that's fermented. We're just going back a very long time in cooking. We're going to take back, and we're going back to root. So the whole journey that we do in all our restaurants, the thread that we keep in our restaurants, the cooking method that's based on salt, it's not just flavoring of salt. I don't just season my food at the end. There's a whole story to every single dish that we do, and we will keep that story going.
Synonymous with some of the most alluring architectural projects as well as sold-out international exhibitions, Lionel Smit's art is defined by deeply rooted symbiosis between sculpture and painting, which gained him the title of being one of the most sought-after investment artists of this generation. It is no doubt that he has secured his mark to a global audience.
Lionel, welcome to All Things Luxury. So Lionel, I want to ask you, what was the creative process in creating your style?
I think growing up, having a lot of different inspirations, different artists from, people like Picasso and then people like the Renaissance and, contemporary painting. I think all of that mixed into one. I slowly kind of developed my style from all those inspirational pieces or techniques. I think it's a continuation of what you did before, kind of overflows into the next series of works, or something that intrigues me or inspires me from a series of works, and then that flows into a new series of works. So I think that continuation, that creative process is something that never ends, in the way. So it's not like I get this inspiration to do this thing and that thing. I think it's a continuous process where the one thing leads to the other.
And when it comes to both national audience that understands your style, how does international audience take on to somebody like Lionel Smit?
I think it's also a very difficult process for South African artists to get exposure overseas, so it was a process in exhibiting quite a bit. Amorphous was exhibited in New York in Union Square for a year to be part of the Parks Department sculpture project they have there, and then from then it kind of started traveling to New Jersey and to other sculpture parks.
So how did they get hold of you to put it out to New York though?
That was one of my galleries in New York at the time that was busy with a project, and they presented this piece to the Parks Department.
So Lionel, for those who are interested in buying or purchasing some of the sculpture, how would they go about doing that though?
Well, I think people can go onto my website, whatever, and they'll find details about the next show that I'm doing, So, and then I have my representative galleries that people could contact, or my studio. Yeah.
He kind of sees this as this is his job, like his 8 to 5. Sometimes he'll come in really early in the mornings and he'll start before we all get there, because sometimes we tend to keep him out.
At social events, he'll blossom like a like a social butterfly, but he'll always be nervous to actually go to these events, and then when he's there, he just forgets all about his nervousness.
And he's really kind of gotten into figuring out who he is as an artist, and he's kind of found a way to create a style that's very unique to him, realistically but also expressionismly, and in terms of incorporating abstract art with his realism. And I think he's gotten a really good balance.
Well, he doesn't always know when he's painting. He doesn't always know what's going to happen, and he just goes with it, and in the end it just turns out to this beautiful masterpiece.